What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to some more Premier League predictions as the festive year is in full swing. We are getting closer and closer to Christmas Day. We have so much football coming up between now and the new year. It's going to be hard to keep up with everything, but we have our prediction show, which will be going me versus my brother Ben, who's at home at the moment. The scores on the doors at the moment are 220 to me, 216 to Ben, so I'm leading by 4 points as things stand. How the scoring works, if you're new around here, is 5 points for getting the scoreline completely spot on, 1 point for just a correct result, and each week we pick a star man. Once you pick that player, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season, and if they score a goal, you get 5 points. If they get an assist, it is 2 points. So as I said, 220 to 2016, we have a full round. Well, I say a full round of Premier League fixtures, but Brentford Man City is actually not on this week, as Man City are involved in the Club World Cup. So 9 games to choose from this week. We start off on Thursday, which is the M6 derby. What do you call it? M25 derby?
M23 derby.
M23 derby. Palace against Brighton, one of the weirdest derbies there are. I've gone for 2-1 to Palace at Selhurst Park. Ben has gone for 1-1. I just looking at Brighton at the moment. And look, their form has picked up a bit, but I still see them struggling through games. And away at Crystal Palace, who are quite resolute, they got a very good draw away at Man City, albeit maybe a bit of a lucky one, but they did get that last-minute penalty, which got them the 2-2 draw. They performed very well, I felt, at home to Liverpool in a game they only lost when they were down to 10 men, and was a 90th minute winner from Harvey Elliott. So I do see them being resolute. I do see them being hard to break down. There are also whispers of potentially Eze being involved in the squad as well on Thursday night. Obviously, Elise has been definitely back in the fray. So I've just gone for them to shade it. I just feel like Brighton are going to struggle to really break them down. I think Brighton are really struggling defensively as well, and I definitely see Palace having the ability to exploit them. So I've gone for a bit of a shock win here, 2-1.
Yeah, obviously Brighton are on the better form than Palace coming into it. I mean, I'll tell you what, this is probably like the worst excuse of a derby in the Premier League, to be honest. These clubs are nowhere near each other. There's some sort of reason why they're a rivalry. It does get heated on the day, though, between the fans and even the players on the pitch. But when you're looking at this game, especially at Selhurst Park, they just never seem to be able to beat each other. I mean, I think there's been one winner at Selhurst Park since Brighton have come into the Premier League, and that was a Crystal Palace win back in 2018. Every other scoreline, in 2019 as well, Brighton won. But since then, every single scoreline has been 1-1 at Selhurst Park between them. And I feel like it's just a case of both teams not wanting to lose. Neither side are in good form. So I just feel like it's just going to be split spoils in this one. So that's why I've gone for 1-1.
All right, moving on to Villa Park. High-flying Aston Villa faced bottom of the league, Sheffield United. I've gone for 2-0. Ben has gone for 3-0. You expecting Aston Villa to continue their winning run at home?
Yeah. On last weekend, obviously, Sheffield United lost 2-0 to Chelsea. I felt like, Sheffield United put in a good account of themselves for the majority of the game. But once Chelsea took control, they really took control and probably could have scored a couple more goals. And I feel like it's going to be a much harder test, this one, for Sheffield United. Again, at Villa Park, they've won every single game there. They're scoring loads of goals each time they play at Villa Park. So I can see that carrying on there with the firepower that they do have. Informally on Bailey, absolutely smashing it at the moment. Ollie Watkins, need I say more? So I just got a feeling Aston Villa are going to run away with this. It might be a bit tight, the opening stages, but I feel like if Villa score in the first half, then it will be 3-0.
Yeah, I just feel like Villa will have too much for them. I just think physically their intensity will be too much for Sheffield United. I feel like Sheffield United will struggle to form any sort of counter-attacks or get up the other side of the pitch on this one. I felt like they were definitely in the game against Chelsea before conceding, but then there was maybe a bit of a worrying, bit of a collapse after they did concede, and it could have been more than 2 at the end of the day. So I've gone for 2 away at West Ham, away at Villa, because I do think they've been a bit more resolute absolute since Wild has come in, but it's not saying much. Their form is still pretty lackluster. So I've gone for Villa to extend their winning run, and potentially, if they win, they go top before Liverpool play Arsenal. So they could be top of the league for a day. So that'll be interesting. So I've gone for Villa to win this one. Next up, we go to the London Stadium. West Ham take on Man United. I've gone for 3-1. Ben's gone for 2-1. So both going for West Ham wins here against Man United, despite Man United getting a creditable 0-0 draw away at Liverpool last week, in what was a game where they definitely did batten down the hatches and got a result. But look, the honest truth for me is they're just going to have to perform a lot better than that if they're going to get a result here away West Ham, who have definitely had a bit of an uptick in results recently, and definitely starting to get some regular wins. A really impressive 3-0 win against Wolves last week, and their form at the London Stadium has been pretty good, and I do expect Man United obviously to go away at West Ham, and I don't think they're going to play on the counter. They're going to try and dominate possession, try and take the game to West Ham and win the game, and I do think that's going to suit West Ham. And I think the likes of Bowen in great form, Kudus is in sparkling form as well. I can see them really exploiting this Man United backline, and I can see them bullying as well Man United in midfield. I think Bruno will be back for this game, but I just see them getting frustrated and West Ham taking advantage. I've gone 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, look, both sides, in terms of the way they play their football, haven't been impressive this season. I feel like West Ham in recent weeks have actually turned the screw a little bit, starting to score some goals, showing the individual quality of Mohamed Kudus, especially as Jarrod Bowen as well. Man United, after Ten Hag and Maguire scooped up the Premier League awards, they've just been getting poor result after poor result, to be honest. Albeit they did get a draw at Anfield, but I think that was more out of luck than anything else, to be honest, or out of Liverpool misfiring on the day. So I just can't see Man United taking anything at the London Stadium. I've said it all along, anytime Man United coming up against real quality, they fall flat on their faces. And they are, whatever you want to say, they are coming up against real quality in terms of individuals, like I said before, Kudus, Paqueta and Jarrod Bowen. So I think they're going to be a bit too hot for Man United to handle this weekend, and I'm backing West Ham to take the 3 points. I do see it being a bit tighter than maybe you envisage, but yeah, I've gone for 2-1 to West Ham.
All right, next up we go to Craven Cottage. In form Fulham take on Burnley. I've gone for 1-1. You've gone for 3-1 to Fulham. Fulham in good form, but off the back of a midweek cup loss to Everton, they'll obviously want to correct that and get back to winning ways here.
Yeah, I was actually watching that game last night, Everton-Fulham, and Fulham gave a really good account of themselves. Fulham, they were going 1-0 up all the way to the dying embers of the game, and they played really well, to be honest, and really matched Everton right until the end, and obviously went through on penalties in the end. And it's a very impressive sequence of events for Fulham to get to the semi-finals of a League Cup. Massive for them. Burnley, on the other hand, look, I've just not been impressed with them all season in terms of them being strong enough to hold off results in the Premier League. And I've been really impressed with Fulham in recent weeks. Yes, Raul Jimenez is out suspended, but Alexander Iwobi is like one of the form players in the Premier League at the moment. I'm expecting him to do big things in this game. So at Craven Cottage against a naive Burnley side, 3-1 to Fulham.
Yeah, apologies. I said Fulham lost. I completely forgot they actually went through on penalties because I had in my mind that Beto scored that late goal. But obviously, Onana did miss that penalty and did put Fulham through on the in midweek. Terrible, terrible penalty, and he'll be having sleepless nights about that. But Fulham will definitely be buoyed, I should say, from winning in the midweek against Everton. It was a really hard fought win, and obviously going through on penalties. I just got a feeling that it's going to sap a lot of their energy, and I feel like going home to Burnley, who, yes, their form hasn't massively improved, but I do think they've tightened things up a bit more defensively, albeit they did lose 2-0 last game at home to Everton, but before that got a credible draw 1-1 away at Brighton, and then only a 1-0 loss to Wolves, and then before that a 5-0 win against Sheffield United. So defensively they have been improving a bit, and I'm just predicting them to frustrate Fulham a bit, who I know they've definitely been improving of late, but I just got a feeling that Burnley are going to turn up at Craven Cottage and get a 1-1 draw here, so I've gone 1-1. Next up, Luton at Kenilworth Road at home to a really out of form Newcastle team. I've gone for 1-0 to Luton, really turning up for the shock for the form books here. You've gone for 2-1 to Newcastle. I just feel like Newcastle are running on empty a bit. I know they nearly got that win in midweek, but that last-minute Kieran Trippier mistake would have definitely been devastating for them. Away from home, they've been shocking. 4-1 loss away at Spurs, 3-0 loss away at Everton. Gordon picked up an injury, it seemed, in midweek as well. So how that affects him, I don't know if Isaac is going to be fit for this one. I'm pretty sure he was not in the squad in midweek as well. So I've just got a feeling that they're going to... Luton at home have been really tough to beat, really tough to play against. And against the big boys have been putting in some good performances, albeit... they have been conceding late goals. They conceded a late equaliser to Liverpool and a late winner to Arsenal in recent weeks. And also against Man City, went 1-0 up and ended up losing 2-1. But I just got a feeling if they do get the first goal here, Newcastle are going to really struggle to break them down with their away form and their struggles for fitness at the moment and a lot of injury problems. So I've gone for a bit of a shock, but I've gone for Luton to win 1-0. But you've gone for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think Anthony Gordon might have gone off injured yesterday as well.
That's what I said, yeah, Gordon.
Yeah. So, look, Newcastle kind of running on empty at the moment. You got to be said. But I thought they were impressive in parts, maybe in the first half anyway, against Chelsea yesterday. I think Chelsea probably deserved to go through yesterday, I would say, on the balance of the whole 90 minutes, winning on penalties. But I think against this Luton side, they always seem to play really well against the big boys. Against Man City, had a really good performance against Arsenal, against Liverpool, and even against Tottenham. After that barrage of attacks in the first half an hour, I thought they really held their own against 10-man Tottenham. But they do seem to just be failing at the last hurdle in these games. And I think even with the injury problems, Newcastle should have enough quality to just wear down this Luton side. But I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think maybe it could go down to the latter stages of the game, as it has done in many of the Luton games. But I think Newcastle will just about get over the line, so 2-1.
We go to the City Ground next. Nottingham Forest at home to Bournemouth in what is going to be Nuno Espirito Santo's first game in charge of Nottingham Forest following the sacking
gonna make them proud.
Of Steve Cooper. Exactly, that's the plan. I mean, I'm not sure about the logic of getting a manager who's in Steve Cooper, who obviously his best results were defensive, but that kind of has gone out the window, and you've brought in another kind of defensive manager in Nuno. But they've taken that decision. They're going to hope he reinvigorates their season. So at home to Bournemouth, it's going to be his first game in charge. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I've gone for 2-1 to Bournemouth. You've gone for 2-0 to Bournemouth. So no goals for Forest in Nuno's opening game.
Yeah, to be honest, if you're judging it by his opening tenure at Spurs, I probably should have gone 1-0 to Forest, to be honest. But I just can't look back at... I can't look away from Bournemouth, the way they're playing at the moment. Iraola's got them playing really well. Nottingham Forest with Taiwo Awoniyi out injured at the moment. I fear for their firepower going forward. I like Gibbs-White, to be honest, and I like Elanga. But I just feel like they need that presence up front, and without Awoniyi, they don't really have it. So, yes, it's going to be a new manager. Could be a new manager bounce against in a home crowd of the City Ground where it's going to be really loud. But I feel like Bournemouth are just going to quieten them quite early on, and with the likes of Tavernier and Solanke and all the players that are playing really well for Bournemouth at the moment, I just feel like Bournemouth are going to take the 3 points. I went for 2-0.
Yeah, I went for 2-1. Obviously, Nuno's first game, I do think he's going to bring a bit of new energy to Forest, and I can see them, early on. You saw how physical they were against Spurs, and I think that if they can do that to Bournemouth, they might get some joy. But once the game settles down and Bournemouth settle into the game, I can see them starting to take control and going on to win the game, because Forest do have a lot of problems at the moment. Bournemouth are in fantastic form, albeit what I would say is obviously last week their game got abandoned. But if I'm analysing what I saw of the game before that happened, they were struggling a bit against Luton. They're 1-0 down, but they were just starting to turn it around in that second half. Obviously, Solanke equalised, and they were starting to turn the screw a bit, and maybe would have gone on to win the game if obviously what happened with Tonlock didn't happen. But so they were struggling bits in that game, but then they were starting to turn it around as well. But based on their form before that, they're in absolutely brilliant form. 4 wins out of 5 and playing some really good football and intense football as well. And I feel like Forest might struggle to live with them at times if they can carry on that form. So I've gone for Bournemouth to shade it 2-1 2-1 at the City ground. We go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Spurs back off the 2 wins in a row off the back of obviously 5 games without a win. Take on a very informed Everton team who are now on a streak of 4 wins on the trot following their points deduction, and then they lost 3-0 at home to Man United. But since that game, they've won 4 games in a row and also 4 clean sheets in a row, which is even more impressive for them. But they did lose in midweek in the Carabao Cup to Fulham in what was probably a devastating loss, considering they got a late equaliser and they were 1 penalty away from winning it, and Onana took a really poor penalty and they ended up going out to Fulham, so all their work kind of being undone. But look, Everton are in brilliant form. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if Spurs didn't win this game, considering that Everton, I feel like, are going to set up to frustrate Spurs. They're good at set pieces as well, which is kind of something Tottenham are weak at. But I think, and as well, Tottenham do have a few suspensions, no Udogie, no Basuma, so you've got to take that into account. But I do think that Spurs, the way they play, they will dominate the ball. I'm just hoping that Tottenham can blow Everton away early on and then just manage the game in possession and just kind of keep Everton at arm's length. That's what I'm hoping for. So I've gone for 2-0 to Spurs, but if Spurs do let this game drift a bit, I do definitely see Everton coming into this game and potentially coming away with something. But you've gone for 2-1.
Ever since they got that 10-point deduction, Everton, they seem to have a new lease of life about them. Daesh has got them playing really well, probably the most physical team in the Premier League, which has got to be said. Abdoulaye Doucouré seems to be out this game, which is a massive plus for us because he is so important to what they do, to be honest. But don't take anything away from what Daesh is doing at the moment for Everton, because if it wasn't for that 10-point deduction, they'd be pushing Europe right now, which is crazy to think about after what Everton have done the last couple of years, just surviving relegation on the last day. So you've got players like Dwight McNeil, who's just absolutely playing unbelievable at the moment, and they're a really hard proposition to face no matter who you are in the Premier League at the moment. They score like 1 in every 11 corner, which is absolutely crazy, a hallmark of a Dyche team. And I do think there is a situation where Spurs could get a bit Dyche this weekend, but I'm just backing the boys. I feel I'm really worried about the left back and left centre back situation going into the game this weekend. But having said that, I still think we got the players in the front line and in the midfield, Pedro Porro and Cuti Romero at the back as well, where we've got the talent on the ball where, like you said, we can dominate this game and we can score goals against anyone. So I'm going to go for Everton to get a set piece against us and Spurs maybe to get 2 early goals and win the game 2-1.
All right, to the game of the weekend at Anfield. Liverpool take on Arsenal in what is first versus second currently it is, but it could be Aston Villa, obviously, in the top 2 when these 2 teams do meet on Saturday night, 5:30. It is set to be an unbelievable game and maybe a bit of a 6-pointer here. It could be vital when it comes to late in the season who ends up taking the title based on how the points are going right now. I've gone for 2-1 to Liverpool. You've gone for 1-1. Arsenal to go to Anfield and take a point.
Yeah, they've taken points the last 2 times they've been to Anfield, to be honest. I'm looking at these 2 teams. Obviously, they're very close in the league. 1 point separates them at the moment. But I don't know, there's just been something about Liverpool in recent weeks that haven't been convincing. They've been getting results, apart from in that Man United game where they would have been really disappointed to not take away 3 points. You saw the frustration coming out in Virgil van Dijk in the interview after the game. Hopefully, I'm saying hopefully here, that kind of result and that performance really makes them say to themselves, look, we can't piss around anymore. We just got to go and absolutely batter the next team we play. And lucky for us, that team is Arsenal. But Arsenal in their own right, I think they are performing really well as a defensive unit with Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, and whether it be Zinchenko. I know Tommy Arce is injured, so it most likely will be Zinchenko. So I think it's going to be a very, very tight game of football. And I think it's on a knife edge whether it goes your scoreline or my scoreline, but I do think it will be one of those 2. I just feel like Arsenal just got a bit more about them defensively at the moment than Liverpool. Both of them are not really performing at like the best of their capabilities at the moment, in my opinion, going forward. So I don't know. I just sided with 1-1 just to be a bit safe.
I've gone for. I went 2-1 Liverpool. I think Liverpool Anfield have been very strong this season. I know against Man United they did drop points, but and also when you look back at the game, they'll be disappointed with the quality of chances they did create. It was disappointing on the day, but I do think I'm looking at Arsenal's away performances, and I just haven't been too impressed. And when they have been put under pressure away from home, they have struggled a lot of the time. I know they have gotten results. Don't get me wrong, and they got that win at Luton and Brentford. They got the last-minute winner, so they have been picking up results, and you need to be resolute to do that. But I just look at them, and they have struggled when you put them under pressure away from home, and they've struggled to get results a lot of the time. Got blown away a bit by Chelsea and ended up turning that around late on. They lost 1-0 to Newcastle. They lost 1-0 to Villa. Again, the Villa game, you could argue that was probably one of their better performances, and they were unlucky on that day. But I just look at their performances away from home in general, and I haven't been too impressed. And I think if they perform how they have been away from home at Anfield, I can see them being turned over here, and I do think the Liverpool pressure will tell. So I can see them as well hurting Liverpool on their own right, because I think that midfield battle, I can see Arsenal getting some joy there. But I do think in general Liverpool will be putting them under pressure, and we'll get some joy there. So I've gone for Liverpool to shade it 2-1, but it's set to be a really interesting tactical battle, and it'll be a very interesting game. And maybe I don't know if I'll go as far as to say I'll go a long way to say who wins the title, who wins this game, but it'll be interesting to see how these teams match up, how close of an encounter it is.
I think it says a lot more if Arsenal can go and win there than if Liverpool win this weekend, to be honest, because it's at Anfield. If Arsenal win at Anfield this weekend, then I think we should all start worrying.
Can't disagree there. Last game of the weekend, we go to the Molineux. Wolves take on Chelsea. Wolves' form definitely dried up a bit after some good early form from Gary O'Neill, but only one win in their last 5 games. Last week, 3-0 defeat away at West Ham, which will be bitterly disappointing, but their form at the Molineux has been a bit better. Chelsea, on the other hand, obviously buoyed by a really good Carabao Cup victory, getting the last-minute equaliser against Newcastle and going through on penalties. They'll be delighted with that, and got back to winning ways last week against Sheffield United. But you know what, I still see them. I know Nkunku's back, so maybe that'll make a big difference, but I'm still watching Chelsea, and despite small improvements, obviously got the win against Sheffield United, I'm still seeing them in games and lacking control and not being overly impressive. They weren't that impressive until they did take the lead against Sheffield United, I felt, last week, but once they got that confidence to the opening goal, they did really take Sheffield United to the sword in it, and obviously deserved the 2-0 victory. In midweek against Newcastle, another bad mistake from at the back cost them a goal, and very, very nearly went out. But obviously a bad mistake from Trippier got them through in the end. But I don't see them going to Molineux and having it all their own way, despite Wolves' poor form. I do see Wolves, the way they play, frustrating Chelsea as well, because Chelsea like teams coming at them and playing within that space, and Wolves are really going to frustrate Chelsea, I feel. But I don't see Wolves being good enough to win, so I've gone for a 1-1 draw here, and you've gone for the same.
Yeah, I've gone for the same. I think first time this week we've gone for the same scoreline, which is crazy to think about. Last result over the weekend, but I think when you're looking at Wolves, yes, they're not on good form at the moment, but anytime a good team, about to say a good team, then put Chelsea in the same sentence when I shouldn't really. But let's say a historically big team. When a historically big team go to Molineux this season, usually Wolves have played really well and stifled them, to be honest. And they've got good results against some big teams, or had close games against some big teams this season. So I see that carrying on. I'm looking at Chelsea at the moment. As much as they dominate possession, as much as they have some nice passing moves, they're still struggling to put those chances away and create those chances consistently. I was watching the game against Newcastle last night, and the only way they could score was a crazy mistake from Trippier in the last minute of the game against the Newcastle side, who have been out on their feet for the last couple of weeks. So look, as much as Chelsea might be showing slight signs of improvement, it's nowhere near good enough yet, or nowhere near convincing enough yet to make me say they can go to Molineux and win. So I had to say 1-1.
They'll be delighted to get Nkunku back, though. Came off the pitch. He came off the bench yesterday. Looks fairly bright. Exactly. Lord Jesus Christ himself coming and saving Chelsea. We'll have to wait and see. That's what everyone's expecting. But all right, star men this week. I have gone for Richarlison, backing him against his old club Everton at home. He's in great form. Obviously, 3 goals in his last 2 games. Looks like a really good player, and I've just got a feeling about him at home to his old club. He could get a goal. You've gone for Alex Iwobi at home to Burnley. Explain yourself.
I went for someone a bit outside the box this weekend. Iwobi, I've been impressed with Iwobi, man, the last 2 or 3 games for Fulham. He's been central to everything they've been doing. I think when what's his name got sent off, Jimenez got sent off, they actually moved Iwobi up front, and he was causing a few problems even with 10 men. So last night I was watching him again, and I thought he looked good. So it swayed me to put him in as the star man. I think he's been getting some goals and assists as well in the recent weeks. So against the naive Burnley side, I thought maybe if anything's going to come from Fulham this weekend, it's going to come from Iwobi.
All right, it's definitely an interesting pick. Let's see if it pays off. But that is all for Predict the Prem. Let us know in the comment section below what your predictions and who your star man is for this week, who you think is going to be on the score sheet. But that is all for today's show. Like, subscribe and comment, and we'll see you next time.